Myself Padmaja, Associate Professor, Department of CSE, Institute of Aeronautical Engineering, Hyderabad. Now, today's topic is regarding the class variables and object variables. Now, first of all, what is a class variable and object variable? Let us discuss. Now, a class can have variables defined in it. So, basically, there are two types of variables we can define inside a class. One is called the class variable, the other one is the object variable. Now, class variables are owned by the class and the object variables are owned by each object. Now, if a class has n number of objects, then there will be n separate objects of the object variable, as each object will have its own object variable. Now, normally the object variables are not shared between the objects. That means for every object there is a separate object variable. But the class variables are shared among all objects. So, any change if you want to make to an object variable will not be reflected to the other objects, because every object, if you have n number of objects, then there will be n copies of the object variable. So, any change or modifications you do to an object variable, that will not be reflected to the other object variables. So, but if a class has one class variable and there will be only one copy for that, then all the objects of the class will share that variable. So, this is the major difference between class variable and object variable. Now, since there exists only a single copy of the class variable, so any modification or changes that is made to the class variable is reflected in all the object variables. Now, normally the class variables and object variables are just like ordinary variables and that are bound to the objects and the class namespace respectively. So, if a class variable is declared, then it is bound to its class namespace. If an object variable is declared, it is bound to the object's namespace respectively. Now, let us see one example. Now, for example, there is a student class. Now, in this student class, we have declared a class variable a is equal to 0. So, if a variable is declared inside a class and not inside any method, then it is called a class variable. So, here a is a class variable. Now, then there is a default constructor that is called init is there. So, we are passing one parameter to x. So, inside that, if you want to make changes to the class variable, we have to write down class name dot class variable. So, student is the name of the class. So, student dot variable, class variable name is a. So, student dot a is equal to a plus 1. That is, plus is equal to 1. So, the class variable is incremented by 1. Now, similarly, now we are displaying with the true print statement what is the object variable value, that is the value of x, and also the class variable value. So, the only difference is the object variable's value is you can directly write as x, but whenever you are accessing the class variable, you have to write down class name dot class variable. So, student is the class name dot the class variable. So, student dot a. Now, let us create multiple objects for the same class. So, for the student class, we have created 3 objects, S1, S2 and S3. Now, for the first object, we are passing the parameter x is equal to 10. Okay. And then we are printing the value of x is equal to 10 and the class variable is incremented by 1. So, it will be the value of class variable will be 1. Second time, when you are creating the second object and your init is initialized, so the x value will be 20. And the class variable was, the value of the class variable will be retained. Earlier it was 1, now it becomes 2. Okay, it is incremented to 2. And then when you display, you will find the value of x is 20, the value of class variable is 2. Similarly, for the third time, when you are creating S3 as the object of the class, then what will happen? You are passing 30 to x. So, here the class variable is further incremented to 3 and the object value or object variable value x is equal to 30 and the class variable value is 3. In this manner, the class and object variables are printed. So if there are n number of objects are there, here we have got 3 objects. So every object will have its own copy. So first time x value is 10, second time x value is 20, third time x value is 30. So if you do any modification, it won't reflect to the other object variables, and it is not shareable also. But class variables are shared among all the objects. So that is the reason the class variable values are incremented from 1 to 3, because we have created 3 objects. Now let us see how to modify a mutable data type of attribute. Let us see. Suppose we have defined a class called number. Now in this number class, we have created 2 class variables and both are list data type. So here events is a list and odds is a list. Both are now your class variables. Now we have written a constructor and we are passing a number and we are checking that number is even or odd. If that number is even, then we are going to append to the even list. If the number is odd, then we are going to append to the odd list. Now how to do that? Let us see. So in this case, here evens and odds, these are the 2 mutable lists used as class variables. Now here we are passing we are creating the first object n1 and we are passing the value 21. So first time the number is equal to 21 we have passed. Now it is checking that num modulus 2, 21 modulus 2 is equal to 0. So it is an odd number. So it will be added or appended to the odd list. So you know that odds is a class variable it is a class variable. So what will happen? We have to write down the class name. So we have to write down the class name dot the class variable. So number dot odds is the name of the list dot append, and we are adding or appending 21 to the odds list. Now next time when you are creating another object, we are passing 32. So second time num value will be 32. So it will check 32 modulus 2 is equal to 0. Yes, it is 0. So it is an even number. So it will get added to the numbers list, that is to the even numbers list. So we are writing the class name is number dot events is the name of the list dot append method, and the value that will be appended is 32. So if you want to test n number of values, so you have to create n number of objects. So through multiple objects, we are initializing the number value, and the init is initialized, and it will check every time the number is even or odd, and then you are appending the values to the odds list or events list. Now let us talk about what is the specialty regarding the init method in Python. So the init method is automatically executed when an object of the class is created. So this method is useful to initialize the variables of the class object. Okay, let us see how to do it. So suppose student is a class. So here init it is also known as a constructor also. Now whenever you create an object of student class, when S is created, automatically this init method is executed, and whatever initialization you have done, that will be done automatically. So let us see, for the student class, we are passing one argument that is called roll number. So here the roll number is 501. Now then we are doing the binding task, self.roll number is equal to roll number, it is stored, and we are printing the value of roll number. So 501 will be printed, and this print statement inside class method, it will print the value is 501. So this is the way the init constructor or the init method works, and it is the default constructor in Python. Now similar to init method, there is one more method that is called Dell method in Python. Now this Dell method is automatically called when an object is going out of scope. Now what will happen when you will use Dell method? So this Dell method is similar to the Dell keyword in Python. So when an object is no longer required, so if you want to delete it and if you want to return the resources back to the system, then use delete method, so that after deletion, then the resources will be returned back and you can reuse it again. So the same thing can be done also del keyword. Let us see one example how to use the del method. Now, for example, student is a class over here. Now, initially there is a class variable containing x is equal to 0. Now, in this constructor, what we are doing? We are incrementing the class variable. So here x becomes x plus 1. So it becomes 1. Then we are passing the roll number of the student while creating the object. We are passing the roll number. So initially the roll number first time, when S1 object is created, the roll number is 501. Now we are printing the what is the object value and also what is the class value. So the object variable value is nothing but your 501 and the value of the class variable is 1. Similarly, for the S2 object, we are passing the roll number as 502 and the class variable is incremented by 1 again. So x becomes 1 plus 1, it becomes 2 and we are printing both the things. So 502 and the class variable is 2 now. Now for the third time, when third object is created for the student class, so we are passing the roll number as 503. So x value is again incremented to 2 plus 1, it is 3. So you will see that the value of the object variable is 503 and class variable is 3. Okay. Now, like by creating different objects, you can print what is the class variable value and the object variable value. But if the object variable is no longer required to you, you can also delete it and you can get back the resources. So by using the del method, let us see how to use the del method. So definition del, double underscore del is a built-in method here. So what we are doing, every time we are calling the del method, we are decrementing the value of your class variable. So here the class variable is decremented. So earlier it was 3, now it becomes 3 minus 1, it becomes 2. And the object with value, that is the roll number 501, is going out of scope whenever you are using del. So you can print self.roll number. So you will get that you have to do this using the del keyword. So del S1, if you want to delete that object, then automatically this del method is invoked and it is executed. So you will get the output, object with value 501 is going out of scope. This message you will get it. Second time, you want to delete this second object. So again, the default del method will be executed here. So again, the second object will be deleted out of scope. Then the third object we are deleting. So like that, the del method can be used in Python. Now, what are the other special methods which are available in Python? There are several special methods which does some particular task. Let us see one by one. One is called REPR, representation method. So this method is a built-in function with the syntax representation of the object. Okay. So it provides you the detailed representation of the object in the string format. So it returns a string representation of an object. So the function works only on the objects, but not just class instances. Now the second method is called the compare method. So this method is used to compare two class objects. If you want to compare the two class objects, then you can use this compare method. The third method is called the length method, which is also a built-in function which returns the length of the objects. So it returns the length of the object. So these are some few of the special methods that is also used in. So thank you so much. In this video, we have learned about the class variable and object variable, followed by the init method and also the del method. Thank you.
Like, share and subscribe. Hit the bell icon for more updates.